When it comes to saving for retirement, what you don't know can cost you. Financial professional Scott Braddock from Scott Braddock Financial joins us now with the biggest misconceptions of retirement. Scott, thanks so much for being here. We do always appreciate it. If you've got questions, you can text them to us now at 336-379-5775. A question a lot of people are probably wondering, Scott, what do you tell people who say that they're too young to think about retirement?
You know, I hear that one too often, and quite frankly, that is probably one of the biggest myths out there. In fact, the bigger, longer runway of time that you can provide yourself to prepare for retirement, the best. We can always, as financial professionals, help folks out in the last minute of retirement, but it's so much better if you take time to actually put a written game plan together that outlines what your retirement goals and objectives are. That'll help you stay on track, and the more time you have to focus on those goals, the better chance you're actually going to achieve that desired retirement.
I don't know about you, but so I'm in my mid-30s right now, and I'm constantly thinking about whether I am saving enough for retirement. Is there anything that you can put my mind at ease with, just knowing where I am in my age and in my career, and as far as saving for retirement?
Well, that's great that you're saving. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks these days that are just not saving at all. What I can share with you is what I share with my clients, and that's you want to look at putting away 12 to 15% of your income in a retirement plan, such as a 401k with your place of work. And if that employer offers a 401k plan, a big tip here is make sure you're contributing enough so that you're receiving that employer's match. Chad, we don't want to leave any of that free money on the table. So if you're doing that and you're putting money away consistently and taking advantage of dollar cost averaging, you're doing the right things.
Can we have more than one type of retirement account?
Oh, so this would be another misconception where folks feel that and believe they can only contribute to their 401k plan at work. And this is simply not true. And another myth, in fact, we can contribute to multiple IRA tax-deferred accounts outside of our 401k if we would like to. Now, there are certain limits on how much you can contribute, and there's some income thresholds that we have to pay attention to as well. And I also want to mention the Roth IRA. This is a little different, but it's a valid option as a retirement vehicle. The big difference is we're going to pay taxes on the money as it goes in, but then it's going to grow tax-free. We can take from it tax-free. The way that I love to share this with my clients is that you pay tax on the seed. However, you're not required to pay tax on the harvest.
Some might think that your expenses decrease in retirement. Why isn't that always true?
Right. So there's another myth right there. It also reminds me of the idea and the notion that you have to reach or achieve a certain dollar amount of money saved in order to retire. And that's simply not the whole story, right? Everyone's financial situation is unique and different. In addition to that, everyone's desired goals for retirement are unique and different as well. So the specific amount that you need to retire you really need to sit down and kind of map out what your retirement is going to look like. Are you going to create a budget, or are you going to create a spending plan? All those factors come into play, so you know exactly where you stand in your situation when it comes to retirement.
You say a common misconception is Social Security will provide enough income in retirement, but that's not true.
Well, it's not true. What folks need to know is that Social Security usually covers about 40% of that income while folks were working. And there we go again. For some folks, that's going to be plenty. But I would venture to say for most folks, that's not going to be enough. So we're going to have to find some additional income sources. We know pensions have faded away by and large. So we've been left to save, invest, and then ultimately find a way to turn that savings into income that won't run out before we run out of time. I'm a big fan of education, Chad. That's why I teach at the local universities here in Greensboro. And matter of fact, I had a class last week at Guilford College. And I would really encourage folks to get out and learn what you can about Social Security. The more you know about what you can do, you'll know what you should do in your given situation.
I'm sure there are plenty of people who wake up in their 40s and 50s and say, shoot, I forgot to save for retirement. What can people do in that scenario?
Well, you're right. Matter of fact, I stumbled upon a survey, if you will, a report not too long ago that showed that 1/3 of folks turning 50 this year have saved less than $25,000, and certainly that is concerning. One idea that I would share with you is if you haven't set up a savings account yet, try to have money automatically taken out of your paycheck, because if you don't see it, it's very hard to spend it.
I agree with you there. One more before we go to break. What can we do to make sure that we are prepared for retirement? Kind of a broad question.
Well, really, what I do with my folks is I use a 5-step process that helps me to, number one, discover what their unique vision of retirement is. And then what we do is we put things in writing. I believe that's the real idea. If we want to achieve success, is have a written game plan in place. So meet with a financial professional that uses a well thought out, thorough process, so that you know all of the solutions and options, quite frankly, that are out there to help you achieve your goals and objectives.
Some great advice from Scott Braddock. One segment down, one to go. We do appreciate you being here. We're going to take a quick break. Keep texting us your questions, and we will be right back.